All right, I'm going to just pick it on up. We were saying Jesus was hanging out in Ephraim. Hebrews 12:60 is the word bered, which means hail, but he's also a son of Ephraim. So there's the synchronicity, the connectivity, how everything, you know, is organized and ties in together if you got the eyes to see it, you know. But bered is mentioned two times in two verses, the 22s, the 44s, the 88s. The first time it's mentioned is in Genesis 16:14. 16, there's the 4 times 4, or the 8 plus 8s. But in Genesis 16:14 it says, "Wherefore the well was called Beer Lahai-roi." And that's where Isaac, Abraham's son, was hanging out. And Beheliroi means basically like drinking the spiritual water, or God sees me and is talking to me. But it says, "Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered." So there's powerful spirituality, tied up in this 1260, man, both to the glory and, like once we flip into like Daniel and the book of Revelations, you'll see some dark stuff, man, because when the 1260 days happens, you got to look at what's going down, what's being prophesied, and the prophecy a lot of times is dark, even though there's a lot of glory, because part of the 1260, for some reason, the throne is manifesting, and I'll show you how we tie into that. But there's two thrones. Satan has a throne, and Jesus has a throne. He's given a throne, and in Revelations 12, most people think that was basically fulfilled, at least the first part of it. I'm going to go over to Revelations 12 so we can kind of be looking at it. But Revelations is, just filled with prophecy, and more prophecy. What we got is Jesus hanging out in the city of Ephraim, Mount Ephraim, Bered, the well that Isaac lived around, where it was spiritual water. And of course, all the prophecies of the end times, it talks about going up into the wilderness where God will make the water spring forth and the land bear fruit, paradise returning to earth, where man, by his own reasoning, was building a parking lot. God is going to restore all and bring back paradise. But Revelations 12 is the great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed in the sun and the moon under her feet. Most people feel like that was all fulfilled all the way down to about Revelations 12, 5. She brought forth a man-child, and then there is discussion on who and what the man-child is. Is that Jesus Christ himself, or is that a new spiritual body of people that are following Jesus Christ that have put on the Christ head, the man-child? But it says, "Who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron," and it says, "and her child was caught up." That's that harpazo word, people who believe in the rapture. The man-child is raptured. But up unto God and to his throne. Whose throne? Well, it's either God's throne or to the throne that God's given him. So it is the man-child's throne. And what you'll find out is people have thrones. There are rulers everywhere. On earth, there are kings and queens, cruelers, those who are the most cruel rule, the golden rule. But in heaven and spiritually, there are thrones. And Jesus talks about where Satan sits, in the high place, the temple, the heart and the mind of a person. Just like God, if you tune him in and you get a relationship, he's in your heart, mind, and soul, But Satan can be in all those places as well. And, like it's the left and right ear, you could have good whispering here and dark whispering there. You got to learn how to discern, how to listen to the angel of light, not to the spirit of darkness. But anyway, the man-child is caught up to his throne, and there's the tie-in. When you do a word search just on throne, it's kind of amazing, because all these visions that people have is with thrones. Jesus sits on a throne, the Lamb is on a throne. Jesus promises us, he says, "As God gave me my throne, I will give you my throne." So it's this common spiritual dominion and rulership, but it's not through cruelty, you know. And we're going to look at a specific verse, like, which is in Revelations, talking about the wrath of the Lamb, and how all these people that have denied him, that have chosen not to listen, to walk away, who are now facing their own destruction of their own making, are somehow looking at the Lamb and being afraid. And that's sad, my friends, because if you actually know God and know Jesus, you know, that's the amazing thing. Jesus came to correct the relationship, where he said it's God the Father, one of love, not this being scared shitless of God. You know, if that's your vision of God, you're looking through a shadow, you know. But the throne is mentioned 176 times in 159 verses, and you know, there's 8s, there's 7s, there's all sorts of verses and numbers. But as we get into the New Testament, like into the book of Revelation, especially towards the end, I think it's like Revelations 21 and 22 and whatnot. I'm going to scroll down to it here. Yeah. Like Revelations 21, verse 5. And he sat upon the throne and said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. That's Jesus Christ, you know, just bringing back the paradise, man. Revelations 22, verse 1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God, out of the Lamb. And Revelations 22, verse 3. And there shall be no more curse, and the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. And one thing that's interesting about the throne is when it talks about who was sitting on the throne. Let's see if I got it here. You know, and as we're just talking about Jesus, it describes him. I think it's like if we punch through like Revelations 21, or could be Revelations 20. I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heavens fled away. There was found no place for them. You know, but you're only afraid of that face if you have no relationship. So it's the earth, those who have the earthly mindset, and heaven fled away. That's the heaven of their own making, you know, because they had this vision of God, which, you know, they're trapped in their own labyrinth, their own box, you know, if they had broken out of it. Because that's what Jesus does. Jesus frees you from the prison. He removes the chain. He calls you out from the hole. He rolls away the stone, which is your own head, you know, and you put on the Christ head. But anyway, in Revelations 20, when it talks about who was sitting on the throne, it describes him as a stone, you know, with sapphire and other minerals and whatnot. But that's what you kind of find is you know, once again, just like we were talking, people are described as animals and beasts and as trees and plants. Well, guess what? People are also described as stones, and cities are not necessarily made out of cement and brick. Those are carnal 3D cities. Heavenly spiritual cities are made out of spiritual stones. You know, Jesus is the cornerstone, and if you've put on the Christ head, that means you're a stone in his wall, a solid foundation that cannot be shook. Whereas when the world is shook, you know, if you haven't built your house on a firm foundation, then your world will crumble, and that will be your 88, you know, which is your tower coming down, you know. So anyway, we're looking at the 1260. I'm going to punch through to Revelations 12. Because once again, that's that powerful vision of the woman bearing forth the man-child. You know, just reading through 12, I just think for some reason we're kind of, if we're saying where are we, what's happening on a spiritual level, it's the 8s. So it's Revelations 12:8. And you actually got to back up 1 to the 12 and the 7. Actually, we're going to back up, because like I said, what most people feel was fulfilled, like either in 2011 or 2012, was Revelations 12 through 12:5, bring forth the man-child. But then in 12:6, the woman flees to the wilderness, and she has a place prepared of God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. There's the 1260. And the woman, some people could think it has to be a woman, single woman, but I think it's more likely a spiritual body of believers. It's the Eve, the queen bee. It's those walking in light in a feminized mindset, because the male ego is the male mindset which fell to the shadow and the darkness. And not that women don't fall to the shadow, but see, spiritually, male and female is not as black and white as it appears. So the female aspect spiritually is used to represent like love, nurturing, caring, compassion, mercy. But a man can have all those traits spiritually, but it's represented on a spiritual aspect as a woman. But the woman, the body, I think, the bride of Christ, is brought into the wilderness to be fed for 1260 days. So Revelations 12:7, and there was war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought his angels. Michael is he who stands up in Daniel. Like I said, Mount Ephraim, there's all these people called Michael, right in this area here. Why is that? It's that synchronicity, man. And you know what? See, everybody can have their own 1260. We are all the sum total of everything we see, hear, do, say, think, and feel, etc. But we're all unique. So, every experience you read about in the Bible, you can experience it in your own unique way. So you can have your Michael moment, you can have your Moses moment, you can have your Abraham moment. But that doesn't mean you're Abraham. That doesn't mean you're Moses. That doesn't mean you're Michael. It's just you're having a similar experience and reflection, which is they are eternal, man. But at the point you're having it is where you're experiencing it in your here and now. But anyway, Revelations 12:8, here's the 8. Because there was a war, and the dragon prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And I kind of think that's where we are. That's what's happening on a spiritual level, because the truth of it is, man, the saints, the 153, the fish that Jesus caught, I showed you in the Lone Pine Cone series how that represents teaching, learning, and growing spiritually. And it forms that pyramid, the 153 that Elijah was sitting on. The 50 is at the top, which represents maybe your 1 year birthday, your spiritual man-child, you have reached the top of the first peak of your walk on earth. I don't even know exactly how it works, but I'm telling you that's how it kind of ties in. But when you're on that walk, I think once you reach that peak of maturity, and everybody might reach it, it's not about specifically being 50 years old. 50 just represents the fullness or completion of reaching that first graduation or birthday, but maybe you're 30, maybe you're 44, maybe you're like me, 52, but once you get there, man, the accuser kind of loses his power over you, because there's nothing, your ego's been snuffed out, you're walking a firm path, and it's not that there's some stumbling stones and things for you to be aware of, but the accuser has basically no power over you, because you're standing firm, your foundation is set. It says, Revelations 12:11, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, because we know of our salvation, and by the word of their testimony. We're all walking with powerful testimony. And they loved not their lives unto death. No fear of death, and some of us may die, some of us may not, but it matters not. So I think that's where we are, man, and it's good news. Revelations 12:12, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, those who are stuck in the carnal mindset, and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, and having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And that's where the wrath comes from, that hurricane, that dark tornado cloud. That's the devil, man. God doesn't send that stuff to people. But And when the dragon saw that he was cast down to earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly to the wilderness, to her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, and from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. But the earth helps out and swallows up the water. And I got to end it there, but it's all about a possible flood, my friends.